just because he was short $1 for his meal. The old man's hands were tied to the table. The young man saw this and asked what was going on. The old man replied that he was short money for his meal and was not allowed to leave. The young man was utterly stunned. How much could the meal have cost that they would tie someone up and not let them leave? The young man was astonished that they were tied up just because they were short 1 yuan, but the owner claimed it wasn't his responsibility. The young man's stubborn temper flared up immediately. He first berated the owner, then threw down 1,000 yuan to cover the meal. He then ordered the owner to untie the old man. In no time, dozens of fried pancakes filled the table. The old man was also stuffed to the brim. Before long, it was nighttime. George, who had no place to stay, was sleeping on the street. But little did he know that he had just gone to the bathroom, and all his belongings had been confiscated. Soon after, George appeared at the bank, thinking of sending some living expenses to his daughter who was in college. The coins he had saved from selling scrap filled the table. George thought of sending his daughter a message, but since he couldn't read, he had to ask someone else to help him. He told his daughter to spend money when she needed to and not to be stingy. If she ran out of money, she should tell him. George left the bank, loaded up the junk he had collected, and started looking for a place to rent. He happened to pass by a house where an old man was celebrating his birthday. The old man had spent his life doing good deeds and accumulating virtue. When he heard George's plan, he rented out his spare room to George at a bargain price. The next day, he asked the security guard to read the text message his daughter had sent him. When he learned the content of the message, he became worried. It turned out that his daughter wanted to go to Sanya with her classmates and was asking George for money. George remained silent. He turned his bag upside down, but in the end, he only had a few hundred yuan. However, the plane ticket alone cost over 2,000 yuan. With no other choice, George continued to collect scrap, hoping to sell more and save enough money sooner. A truckload of scrap only fetched 35 yuan. After an unknown amount of time, George had saved up quite a bit of money. On his way to the bank, he saw a stall selling sugar-coated hawthorn on a stick. Exhausted, he thought about buying a string to reward himself, but he couldn't bring himself to spend the money. In the end, he only spent 1 yuan on the smallest one, but when he arrived at the bank, he was told that the total was 2,499 yuan. George frantically searched his bag, but of course, there was nothing inside. He was just 1 yuan short. He slapped himself twice. He shouldn't have given in to temptation and bought that sugar-coated hawthorn. The woman couldn't bear to watch and offered to cover the 1 yuan. A weight lifted from his heart. George smiled. Selfless fatherly love brought tears to his eyes. But children shouldn't just keep taking without giving back.